Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to ReTrek. I'm Captain Jim, and joining me, of course, are Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And Dr. Squee.
Drag on! Ho, 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 ho!
Before we start, I've just got a question to ask.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
Are you nicking a bottle of wine straight from the bottle? Because I could only see, right, because you could only see, like, little picture at the bottom when we played the titles. And it looked like you were sneakily down in a bottle of wine out nicking it.
That is what it looked like.
I'll have
But it
you
wasn't
know,
just
I've got
me,
a
then.
bottle of tropical Copperberg in which
No,
I've
that's
distilled
fine.
my wine so no one's any the wiser until you open your mouth.
Copperberg, which is a very good cider, and if they're looking to sponsor any grassroots podcasts.
Yeah, if Copperberg would like to sponsor us, sign up for that. I don't mind drinking some Copperberg.
Or even
Gonna
better,
tell you.
Ricoeur League.
Yeah.
What? No,
But
no.
Copperberg with
I
tech.
prefer Copperberg, I've got to say. And especially their new tropical Copperberg, which, oh God, it's a limited edition at Christmas time, which just brings the feeling of the tropical islands to my Christmas day. I don't know about you guys. Just sponsor us. Come on.
Absolutely,
More
come
ad
on.
reads like that you can expect.
That's
I
it.
must
Can you
admit, I
imagine?
respect-
All
Did you ever try the Thatcher's Halloween one a couple of years ago? When it
No.
did toffee apple.
Oh, I
No.
tasted a similar one from Brothers.
It was like lush. It was best cider I've ever had.
Are you sure that wasn't Brothers? They do a toffee apple.
No,
each
it was
year.
Thatcher's.
Oh, I'm
Because
going
it
to
was
try
on
that.
sale in Asda.
Brothers one is great.
don't be mentioning the other brands.
Hey,
Right,
I don't mind
Copperberg.
which one wants to sponsor us.
That's true. That's true.
Bidding war. I think we need a bidding war.
So before we do kick off the show, though, anyone who's not seen my Edward apology video, it is on the Facebook group, and I have to add to it that when I was listing Edwards that I was a fan of, I neglected to mention my very good friend Gareth Edward George and his son Harry Edward George, who both have the middle name Edward.
I
And
was going to say it's even the middle name, which was the sin you did was
Exactly.
yourself.
So
Miles Edward O'Brien.
I think this puts Edward Gate to bed that one of my very best friends in the whole world has a middle name Edward.
James, it would do until we discovered this video from years ago. No, just joking. We've got nothing. It's all good. It's all good.
So now we've got that out of the way, we're going to talk about Mindwalk, which is the latest episode of Prodigy, and we're going to do some Star Trek Christmas specials that we've made up specially for you.
Yeah, they're pictures. So, like, we want you to come up with your Star Trek pictures for, like, Christmas specials you do for Star Trek, and we'll read them out when we're doing that section. And also, if you want to kind of rate which one you think's your favorite out of the three, you know?
Oh,
Bit Christmas
we weren't,
fun.
Oh, I didn't
we weren't going to
realise it was
go
a
there.
competition.
That's
sorry.
it.
Sorry, life's a competition, guys, and this dragon's just one of the players.
I think someone just wants validation for their pitch, and that, you know, I thought this was a fully cooperative experience that we were going for, but now it's all a big competition. So
Yeah, I didn't
What I'm
realise
saying
it
is,
was all a big
Dragon Boy
competition.
here's had a tough year.
No.
He needs the fucking validation. I'm sorry, but
okay, yours is the best.
brilliant. I'll take it. No competition needed.
There we go.
Sorry, my head just
Okay,
fell off.
so before we get to the main event, then, which is obviously Dr. Squee's pitch for the Star Trek Christmas special,
Have you
we
spent
are gonna
all
talk-
week on it?
all
No,
week
actually-
on it.
Honestly, this is the way I quite often write. I think about something for a week
You've
and then I
written stuff
hurriedly
down.
write it down. Oh yeah. I made notes. Otherwise, I wouldn't remember half of it.
I didn't
Then
realise
I
you meant
write-
to make notes and write stuff down.
Oh yeah,
You can wing it,
I've
go
got
for it.
oh slow.
Oh, fucking hell.
Look, I've got notes, but I'm also going to wing it. For anyone on audio, I'm holding up my dragon wings.
My notes for my Star Trek episode, there you go, preview for anyone who's watching on video, are even longer than my notes for the actual Star Trek episode we're talking about.
God.
So
There
can
you
see
go.
where our concentration goes.
It's been a busy week at work this week, I have to say.
Oh, mine's been really slow. It's been great.
Mine's been really
Done
busy.
house chores.
Well, that's why yours is going to have dialogue and all sorts. Anyway, Mindwalk, the latest episode of Prodigy then. And it's a body swap episode. I love body swap episodes. You'll remember I wasn't quite so hot on Spock and Mock because I didn't think they did enough with the body swap concept. But this one, really, really liked it. I think body swap really works well in animation. And like, the one that I always remember is, I think it's called The Old Switcheroo. And it's an episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where Splinter and Shredder swap bodies and, you know, shenanigans and hijinks ensues. But yeah, so I like body swap episodes.
I would also say Spock and Mock, the problem I had with that was they were in their first series. Even though we know Spock from other shows, we don't know this version of Spock. I thought it was way too early to do that because they're resting on the legacy of other people playing the role, which I think they do occasionally on Strange New Worlds. Whereas this, we've had 7 years of meeting Janeway and the other show, and we've had almost a full series of, well,
almost 2 series if it was done normally.
However you want to like us. So we've had 17 episodes of learning this Janeway, and it is a hologram of the original, played by the original actress. So I think it's okay to include the canon of Voyager.
Yeah.
And a new audience will have met her enough by now.
Now, I know we've had the controversy about whether this is season 1 or season 2 of Prodigy. But I did think today, if we do classify all of this as season 1, which is what the producers want us to do, then I think this is probably the most consistent, regular length first season of Star Trek, because, you know, we said season 1 of Strange New Worlds was possibly the best first season, barring the original series. But that was only 10 episodes, whereas we've nearly had the full run of 20 here, and the quality's been remarkably consistent across it.
The quality's been amazing, but you have to put a huge asterisk by that one, just for the fact that they got 2 years basically to do what they're calling one series, whereas the other shows...
Yeah.
10 episodes. And even if you take it 10 episodes at a time, though, I'd still put that on this series.
Yeah, it's still been very, very
and
strong.
also, the episodes are only 22 minutes long, so in Strange New Worlds has actually done more with one season. Anyway, but we can get into all the semantics of it. It was just a thought that occurred to me, and I thought, we're going to put it out there.
I agree. I've absolutely loved Prodigy.
It has been very good quality. It's been high quality right through.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Other Star Treks have always been what I've aspired to. Like, look at these great examples of humanity. I want to be like that. Prodigy is the first one where I feel seen by it. Like a misfit rebel who kind of didn't really get on at school, who then gets accepted by people. Like, I really love that idea. And it's kind of like, it is the journey I went through with school and then finding my geeky tribe and feeling that acceptance. So I love it for that reason. I think it feels very personal, this one, somehow.
You mean you didn't identify with the normal, average, everyday teenager Wesley Crusher back in the day?
I'm telling you, I thought you were going to go for like at school. It's like, no, there was a lot of anti-dragon movement at the time. Luckily, times have changed. Dragon-human hybrids are more acceptable now, but
I think Game of Thrones did a lot for human-dragon relationships. So I think it really sort of...
Even though they're all just fire-breathing, at least they did that work of normalizing dragons, if not creating a round body of work for my people.
And I think Daenerys' relationship with the dragons, that she was very open about being the mother of dragons, that they were her children, I think, like you say, really helped the dragon-human hybrids out there.
Brought us together in a big bad way, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
should we talk about this episode of Prodigy? Yeah, let's get there. We're 9 minutes in. I think we're doing well.
Yeah.
So it's called Mindwalk, and it picks up as Prodigy seems to be, as it's going along, getting more and more serialized. So we're just right back where we left off last time. And Hello Janeway, feeling all the guilt and everything, says she's going to turn herself off. She may not actually turn herself off.
Yeah, she may have killed another porky pie.
Yeah, but she makes a big song and dance. I'm going to turn myself off. And then the ship warps itself out of the way. Meanwhile, on the other ship, we've got the Diviner hiding the real Janeway in a cupboard. And this is something you talk about quite often, Squee, how when they do things, you like there to be a little bit in dialogue that just explains why we're doing something. So they do actually bring up the question of, well, why don't we just flush her out an airlock if we want to get rid of her? And we do get an answer, which is, well, that'll probably raise more questions and get us in more trouble. So they do pay it that little bit of lip service. I'm not sure the logic follows because she's still missing if she's hidden in a wardrobe.
Missing, but if you open the airlocks, a sensor will go off somewhere and alert that an airlock is opened.
Also, if you trace back her comm badge, you'll still find it in her quarters with her. You'll find life signs. You'll find every proof of life. So the only thing you really need is the ensign's word that she's given her these orders and she's not to be disturbed. So it's a lot of an easier sell of a lie. And I think Prodigy all over has been really great for giving us explanations for pretty much everything, if not everything.
Yeah, now, that's just triggered something in my brain, but it's a bit too early for spoilers. But I saw Avatar 2, right? And it's 3.25 hours long. And there's still bits in it where characters have information that they shouldn't have at that point. And I won't elaborate because I don't want to give spoilers, but when it's been out long enough and everybody who wants to see it has seen it, which is less people than James Cameron thought. No. And I'm not going to go, it was actually really good. I really enjoyed it. But when you film is 3.25 hours long, you should not have such obvious plot inconsistencies. There is enough screen time to deal with it.
And when you have 13 years to make your movie.
Yeah. And Prodigy's done it in 22 minutes, James Cameron. Pay attention.
May I also just going on the Prodigy of it all? One thing I really loved in this episode, and I've done it in a few other episodes, and I've forgotten to mention it. I love when, sorry, I love it when they put in the little stings from the Prodigy music, which is obviously heavily influenced by Voyager's music. So you kind of get these stings, which are they're so nostalgic for Voyager. And I know you guys have your fair kind of comments about Voyager and some inconsistencies.
I really like Voyager.
Cool. But
I like Voyager.
Okay, cool.
I like Voyager that much, it might as well be called Star Trek Edward.
Okay. But that aside, I'm just saying it's really a lovely kind of thing of where the other shows always use the original series sting to kind of conjure up the mood of Star Trek. This one uses Voyager, which is a nice change because I think I've said before, I sort of like and don't like the fact that in every show they've got to have a little sting of the original
Facebook user.
Okay. But in the other shows, they keep on putting in little stings of the original series tune, whereas it's really nice to have one which does something different, which kind of calls back to Voyager instead. Yeah,
they did it a little bit in season 1 of Picard, didn't they? When 7 of 9 were first on, like they just had a few strings of Voyager in there. But yeah, I totally agree with you, and I like the fact that I suck. Okay.
I just want to say, whoever that is, I do that after the show, and it's none of your business. Thank you.
Should I grasp up who it is?
No, that's fine. I would rather be abused by nameless people.
If you're listening in, then that was the quote on the screen was "You suck, Jim." So
yeah, thank you. Remind the audio listeners who won't be.
Oh, it's Jodie.
Who won't be privy to my abuse. That's fine. That's fine. Just draw all the attention to the abuse I'm receiving. You know what?
I turn it into a BJ joke. Come on. I did my best.
As long as we're getting the attention, it means we're doing something right.
Yep.
Anyway, back to the plot. So they come up with this whole thing that they're going to reach out to Janeway using Dal's augmented blah 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 blah. And they're going to create a mind link and flew and technobabble. And the ship gets shot. Whereas I think my phone has now realized that I swear far too much because it has spell corrected the ship gets shot to the ship gets shit.
It's hyperspace dysentery. It's the worst, I tell you.
It is. And this causes the body swap to actually happen.
Oh, and sorry, just give a shout out to the
No,
Medusa.
go.
The way they've written the Medusans, I love the fact that they've got the psychic ability, but you can use them in counter suits. So anytime you need to, you don't want psychic powers to ruin the plot. You can just go, it's being dampened by the kit. What are you going to do? It's great. They put enough limitations so that you can only use it sparingly, but they've given that ability. I just thought it was nice touch.
It's always good when you have like these overpowered people, OP as the gamers say. And so you have to constantly come up with reasons why they're not as powerful. Like it's always
the kryptonite.
There you go. I was going to say Superman is a great example that they have to tie themselves up in knots to explain why Superman can't just sort everything out in 2 minutes flat. And it's usually something like, well, the sun isn't quite the same, so he's not getting all the power that he needs or what have you.
Well, I've always wanted them to do one with Superman, and I don't think they've ever done this.
You just don't like Superman. I've always wanted them to do one with Superman.
Yeah, I really love Superman. I just
which Henry Cavill's has.
Yeah. I thought his biggest flaw was for everyone he's saving, he is hearing hundreds, if not thousands, of people all over the world dying in every second. That I think they should, like, his neuroses gets the better. And one day he has a mental breakdown because of all the screams of the dead that he hears in every moment. Because no matter what he's doing, if he's saving lives, others are dying. If he's at home with Lois, watching TV, people are dying. Any moment he has to himself, he is letting people die.
It's a little bit like the I think J.J. Abrams did a pitch for a Superman trilogy at one point that never got made. And the idea was that it would be this trilogy that would cover all of Superman's life. And it was going to finish with Superman being the only life form left on planet Earth as the sun's dying. And eventually, as our sun dies, Superman dies because he becomes mortal without the rays of the sun. And I really liked that concept as a way to finish Superman's story. But they went, you know what? Forget J.J. Abrams. Zack Snyder's got an idea. Let's run with that instead. Let's not. That's why you're in the situation you're in right now. And also, R.I.P. to The Rock's Black Adam, who is not going to feature in the first chapter of the new DC universe.
Sad. Black Adam.
Sad news. So did I. I thought...
It sounds like the amount of money they spent wasn't up to the IP's draw. No, there was a bad film. Just
no. I agree, and I don't think it was ever going to be. But I think The Rock's charisma just managed to convince these producers that somehow this obscure anti-hero was going to be the biggest thing they'd ever seen. Which, good on him, Yep.
But it made a profit.
Yes, if you count up all of column B and divide it by the number of.
It's very arguable because there's different figures for everything on that shoot.
Yeah,
well, the thing is that Hollywood has its own mathematics, shall we call it, because that's how they get away from giving their actors shares of profits.
Oh,
yeah, movies after they sign into the contract.
Post litigation.
I think a really famous one is the writer of Forrest Gump didn't get paid anything because they somehow managed to prove that it didn't make any money.
Yeah.
So there you go. Which is why you need to get your above the line deal.
Wouldn't write a Forrest Gump 2 and denied them rights to make a Forrest Gump 2.
Yeah. And you need your gross deal, which very few people actually get.
And it's
there's a book.
Atrocious.
Yeah, it's apparently not very good.
He did it deliberately.
Yeah,
never even heard of it.
Yeah,
he deliberately wrote a crap sequel because of how they screwed him over.
Anyway, shall we Prodigy for a minute?
Yeah, let's go back to Prodigy just briefly. Yeah. So some of the shenanigans we get are that Dal doesn't like the coffee. And obviously that's Janeway's thing, is liking the coffee.
But older Janeway, Vice Admiral Janeway, is off the coffee. She's on tea.
No. You say this. Is that so in this reality? That was in the other reality. Things can change.
No, I think it has been said in this one.
It's been shown
here as well.
But it's because Dal knows Hollow Janeway, who's based on a younger Janeway who still does like the coffee. So he assumes that coffee's her drink.
Yeah.
Oh no, and the doctor did say, drink this coffee, it's an order. Maybe he gives it to her when she's struggling a bit. Maybe that's a little pep up. She just has a coffee every now
Yeah,
and
I
again.
wonder if older Janeway has been told not to drink coffee for blood pressure or something like that.
Oh, they don't have high blood pressure in the...
I just remembered he literally said, it's like, you've got to drink this coffee, that's an order. In this particular case, I loved all the fun which Kate Mulgrew got to have with this one.
Yeah,
it's been such a blast. And with it's one of those things where I don't mind a little bit of a concession to the fact that it's cartoon by giving her over the top actions, which at her age she wouldn't be quite up to. But
yeah, but that's where animation is, like you were saying at the start, animation is better at doing body swaps.
Yeah,
because you can have the other character's mannerisms perfectly done in the other character.
And also, though,
I just meant the face of the clothes. You move them exactly how their character normally moves.
Yeah.
I just meant the physical limitations. Like, if he went into my body right now, he wouldn't be able to do all those wild movements he was doing. I doubt he'd be able to do it with Janeway's body. But again, I can make some concessions that an animated form can have a bit more fun with it. It doesn't have to be.
It's a limitation that, like, real life has, that people can't exactly mimic someone else's.
That's true too.
Mannerism. So if you're in someone else's body and you're moving how you would normally,
yeah.
Though on that note, I thought it was really clever how the animation on Dal with Janeway's mind in Dal's body took on Janeway's mannerisms. Like the way he was standing and everything. I thought that was really clever, really good.
And I also think this is one of the best examples because it really annoys me when they body swap and it's always like when it's an older and younger person and they play the older actor plays the younger person ridiculously over the top. And I don't think Kate Mulgrew did that. I think it was very true to how he played. Really,
it was really good, and it showed how sort of capable Dal's becoming and everything, that you had this contrast or comparison, rather. It's not really a contrast. They're both doing the same thing. They both tried to resolve the problem from where they were now. You know, they quickly adapted to the situation and tried to deal with it. And I particularly loved Janeway Dal. Is that right? The one that's on the protostar, the one that's Dal's body with Janeway. Yeah, so Dal's body, Janeway, the way she immediately sort of started treating that crew as though they were her crew, like she was like, okay, this is the situation, ideas. And she immediately fell into this routine of a sort of ersatz actual Starfleet crew, which must be very validating for them characters that
that they must have
somebody of her stature immediately does that.
Really good point. And I also love the fact that it was annoying, but in a way which seemed true to like what could happen. So when Dal in Janeway's body was on the what's the other ship's name?
The Dauntless.
The Dauntless. I love the fact that, like, just I was screaming at the TV just every time, going, just fucking tell them who you are, tell them what's happening, and they'll understand. Just talk to them. But it's quite understandable. Someone of his age who's been put in this position maybe wouldn't have the chutzpah to do that. But it's just, it's a well written annoyance. It's all like, I like being like that.
That's something that I really liked about this, is that I like body swaps anyway. They're good fun. But it serves a very, very good narrative purpose at this point in the story arc, in that they found a way for them to communicate with Janeway. By doing this body swap, you put Janeway on the protostar and she sees what's going on, and it gets the character of Admiral Janeway where we need her to be, which is, I'm now on the side of the
I just want to say,
I know that, and we can move forward from there.
Yep,
we've arrived. We're getting bot spam for porn sites.
Excellent.
Woo-hoo! And I do like to share these when they come out. So if you want a new adult dating chat free, look and check it.
Don't delete those. Just, you know, obviously I want to put in formal complaints after the show, so just leave them in the chat. Thank you. So then we get we talked about this from what we'd seen in the trailers, which was Janeway talking to Janeway, and we assumed it was real Janeway talking to Holo Janeway, but it's not. It's Dal Janeway, but they visually represent Dal Janeway as Janeway for the purposes of this scene.
It was
so they misdirected us a bit with the trailer, but I don't mind that because we got a great scene out of it. I don't mind a bit of misdirection.
Also,
I don't.
Also, in effect, it is. Also, in effect, it is both Janeway.
I got a lovely surprise today. Look what Secret Santa brought me. See, nice. I love surprises.
Which, of course, you're not opening until Christmas Day because we follow the same rules with Secret Santa as we do with regular Santa.
But I just want to talk about that Janeway scene. It was it was something so weirdly sweet, and it reminded me of that audiobook /book Mosaic, which they wrote about them on the Basics planet, talking about how they each entered Starfleet. And when it's just Janeway giving advice to Janeway, it was weirdly satisfying for some reason. Like, and they remembered that times, like, you remember, say something that only I would know. Okay, you remember when we knocked over Sister's paints and Dad said, it's like, right, Katie, make something good out of that. And it was such a lovely scene.
That was great. And the fact
that the sting of music there as well.
And the fact that it was when she delivered that line that she visually changed into Janeway, that was just a really, really... Because there was a scene where Dal Janeway walked behind a pillar, and I thought, when they come out the other side, they're going to be Janeway. But instead, they saved it for that line, and I thought that was a lovely little touch. While we're on the subject of misdirects, though, and I know this is one of our very tangent-y episodes, but I rewatched the Back to the Future trilogy, and at the end of Back to the Future 2, there is a little preview of Back to the Future 3. And this isn't a misdirect. This is just, why would you put this in the trailer? It shows the scene of Marty dressed as the cowboy when he goes to wake Jennifer up back in the present. And it's like, okay, so we know that he gets back to his normal time then. Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of guess he probably would have made it.
Yes, I know, but it's nice not to know for definite, isn't it?
I know what you mean. No, it's I just remember having my mind blown by that because I remember seeing the first Back to the Future in the cinema, and then I saw them in the cinema. And at the end of 2, when it's like they previewed 3, I was like, this just doesn't happen. And like I had no idea about back to back or anything like that at that age.
And also, I think Back to the Future 2 doesn't get enough kudos for being one of the most wildly inventive sequels of all time, that they go, right, the climax of Back to the Future 2 is the climax of Back to the Future 1, but the characters are interacting with it and changing things. I mean, that is just absolute genius and very bold thing to do. And I remember at the time people weren't as mad keen on it, but I think it is getting more and more reappraised. But I just think that film is so clever when it does that.
There's plenty of people who actually find Back to the Future 2 their favorite. The first one's always going to be my favorite. But when I recently, like a month or 2 back, I watched back all the three of them. And man, the second one hit really hard, especially the dystopian future and everything. Maybe it was a little bit too close to the knuckle. Maybe that's why it kind of...
I mean, Biffy's just Trump.
Yeah, and it was always meant to be. That was purposeful.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Which, actually, I was saying this when we were watching it last night. What they should do, Biff should release NFTs to sort of counter Trump's NFTs. Anyway, back to Prodigy. I know they have.
Yeah.
Well, I bought 3 of them.
What packs?
So
packs.
I'm just, come on, I hope I win that draw. I want to have my lunch with him. Go play golf with him. But the Janeway scene, though, so yes, it's brilliant for all the reasons we talked about. But again, it has a brilliant plot function that it's like, right, real Janeway's here now. She can fix Holo Janeway.
Yeah.
So for the first time in the show, we've now got Holo Janeway with all the memories restored, and we get to see my favourite character, Chakotay, make a little appearance there. So obviously that's a highlight for me.
Also,
So-
talk about a misdirect. When I read some fan fiction about Janeway on Janeway, it was a very, very different scene. I didn't see anything I was expecting to in.
And we'll put a link
We'll
to
move
that
on
in
very
the
quickly from
in
there.
the comments as
If
well.
you go to this website, I think you can see it from the chat bot.
Yeah, the chatbot's probably got the Janeway stuff that Dr.
Yeah.
Squee's talking about. Lovely little shout out to the fact that she once turned into a salamander when they're talking about how crazy the plan
Yeah,
is.
she can cope with anything.
Oh, and I was
After
going,
that-
just mention the bath and monkey. Just mention the bath and monkey and nothing.
Nah, I think weirdly, we're the only people who find the whole Bath and Monkey thing as funny as we do, but
No. No.
yeah, I think that is an overlooked episode, and if you've not watched it recently, you need to go back and watch the episode where Chakotay makes Janeway a bath. And I don't mean runs her a bath, I mean makes her a
Makes her
bath.
bath.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
he doesn't turn her into a bath. When we say
No.
makes her a bath, oh, Jesus.
he gets a
Yeah, we're
tree,
not
he
talking
cuts
about
it
space
down,
magic here.
he hollows out a bath, and he gives her a shoulder rub, and there's a monkey in it, and we're not making this up. This is not one of these made up things that Dr. Squee were talking about. Anyway, I wonder what proportion of our episodes we end up talking about Janeway and Chakotay in the bath, because it seems a disproportionate amount.
I think it's exactly the right amount myself.
Yeah. Anyway, so they come up with this whole plan, and they're gonna rejoin and have to touch hands. And they have this great bit
I
where
do like how they discuss how they can tell him what to do, and they notice him doing an SOS.
Yeah.
Going, oh, we'll use Morse code, and then they go, no, all he knows is SOS.
yeah,
That was nuts.
which to be fair is all most of us know in Morse code. So I'm with him there. Why no one has written a Janeway monkey fan fiction yet?
Well, you clearly haven't checked Jim's website recently.
Look, I mean, probably because I mean,
I think
Star Trek.
I think we actually came close at the live show.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Star Trek certainly popularized slash
We did run a
fiction.
vote on who she slept with, and the monkey was more popular.
Yeah. So I would guess possibly because getting into the bestiality sub-level of slash fiction is probably a bit much for some people. Like I know in the supernatural slash fiction community, there's a big divide over people who quite enjoy the
It
women.
could fall into the fairies category.
That'd have to be a person dressed as a fairy. And look, I have a friend who's a fairy, and I've on good authority that it is not a sex thing. Okay,
Really? Have you seen the photos to put out and the pictures to draw?
I am just telling you from the experience of a friend I have who is a fairy. They have assured me it is not a sex thing.
I know.
And I'd like to make it clear
something
that
they
friend
make
is
it
not
very
me.
clear it's a sex thing.
I'd like to make it clear that friend is not me. I am
No.
a dragon with some man parts who puts on a human suit during the day.
There you go.
Very different.
So, look, I'm just supporting the furry community here, and so anyway, so we think that's the reason why there's no Janeway monkey fan fiction. There's a bit where Janeway says that Dal will never be allowed to join Starfleet, which is very sad.
Oh,
Talk about subtly layering something in. I didn't pick up with, even though they've just in Strange New Worlds had a storyline about someone who's genetically modified.
Mhm.
I didn't 1 second question that's where they were going with Dull, and I loved it. I love it when they kind of like put something right in plain sight, and I miss it because it's a lovely surprise.
I'm wondering if where we are going to go with this eventually is that will get overturned, and then
a bit like
that'll
how the Doctor, like with the Doctor in
Yeah.
9 and stuff.
Yeah, I think that is the storyline we're going to come up on. Perhaps even later series.
It's an old law. It's bigotist. We
Yes.
know why it was done in the first place, but we've moved on from being.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
I think maybe we are looking at telling that story here, and that, of course, opens up possibilities for Probably not Picard, because that was already in the can before we've done this, but things like Discovery, you could have Starfleet officers in the future.
Yeah,
Bashir does have genetic enhancements, and
there was a special deal made for that.
That is dealt with very specifically because he was already in Starfleet and was very decorated by the time it came to light, and his parents did a deal to go to jail.
I was going to say, so his dad, which Clint said, his dad kind of went to Starfleet, made this very specific deal for this one case. But
the genetic enhancements is what augments are. It's genetic enhancement.
Yeah. I think what we're going to see is, I think they're going to, in Strange New Worlds, I think they're going to link these. I think in Strange New Worlds, we're going to have that play out so that she's allowed to stay in Starfleet. Again, on a very specific case. But then I think then in Prodigy, we have them citing a couple of, I think we're going to have a courtroom kind of thing, and they're going to cite the case from Strange New Worlds as well as Bashir. I think it's going to be a lovely callback to these.
That'd be really good, if they tied all of this stuff in. Yeah, that'd be excellent.
They should do more of that, where they've got shows in different timelines.
Absolutely,
they should. Running things
where you can't reference one to the other.
Yeah, and what has to happen, which has a bearing on that adventure next week in the other show.
What it opens up possibilities to do is things like they used to do with the novels. When Star Trek novels were a lot more popular than they are now, like you used to get several a month. And I remember the first one they did was called Invasion, and it had original series, TNG, DS9, Voyager. And they tied together this big story, and it was like Kirk's crew first encountered these aliens.
I've not read the other two.
Yeah, well, they're interesting. Is that the first one? Kirk's crew encounters these aliens, and they're kind of like pagans, and there's a Wicker Man and all this stuff. Then the second one, Picard's crew encounters the same aliens 100 years later, and blah 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 blah. And one of Picard's crewmen gets sucked through a wormhole at the end. And then clearly, the writer who did the DS9 one went, "Yeah, I'm not interested in that." And they did a story about the enemy of this pagan species. So the DS9 one in no way connects apart from going, this species that they're dealing with in DS9 knows the species that... Shut up, I'm doing my story. But then the Voyager episode picks it up, and it turns out they're actually from the Delta Quadrant, and the crew member that they lost in the TNG episode reappears in the Voyager one. So it was interesting.
Because they also did Captain's Table, and I think... Captain's Peril, maybe? No, there was Captain's Peril was something else.
They did a Day of Honor one, a Klingon one. They did the Captain's Table. They did Gateways, which was the Iconian Gateways. They did one called Double Helix, where it was a virus. So they did various good ones. Yes, but I'll be honest with them. I mainly just read them for the New Frontier books, because the New Frontier books were always awesome. Anyway. We will get to the end of this episode, and we will give you our pitches for our episodes.
We will.
So they do the spacewalk. They use the phaser beam as a conduit, and everybody gets back where they should be. But we end on a big cliffhanger, which is they're getting into Federation space. There's a massive armada, but also Janeway's back in her own body, but she's in the brig. So... we've moved all the chess pieces. We've got them where we want for the 2-part finale, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an electric finale. I think I love the fact that Janeway's in the holding cell, but that is the perfect MacGuffin to just hold her long enough that it'll add tension, but it doesn't hold her. Like, as soon as the doctor does another scan on her, they can verify it's her. She can explain what happened.
She's going to be. I don't think she's going to be in the cell that long.
Yeah, but I think just long enough to create a bit of extra danger so that the diviner and his people can put all their chess pieces in place. I also did love, just as a little callback to earlier in the episode, when Dal and Janeway's body goes out of the quarters, and they basically got these guys just having a chat, and he's like, just lovely at the moment. Sorry,
I did like that. The diviner came to let Janeway free.
Yes.
And he goes,
that was nice.
And he says about how the Federation has been the enemy of his people for all his life, or for as long as he can remember. But he's returning what she did and saving her life. And he doesn't know about this in Starlight is releasing.
No, that was a good dynamic that you had, him not knowing that it's Dal, and Dal not being able to play his hand. So very, very nicely constructed.
And if you make your bad guys somewhat relatable and have this human side to them, or humanoid side, I guess. It is a really nice thing. I think that's really well done, and it gives you so much more. So we don't know now if he's going to be turned around, maybe, and maybe his protege takes over that evil role. We don't know if he's going to be stay evil to the end. We don't know. Like that opens it up.
We may get
mystery.
We may get some
that there weren't an evil species.
No,
just being driven to something because of. They had their own internal political civil war because they couldn't decide if they wanted to join the Federation or not.
And they were in a point of desperation. Like, when they go back to the past, maybe he's had a beat, not that he's kind of strayed from his mission, but he's had a beat to kind of like maybe process some more stuff, and maybe that leaves him a bit more open to his moral side.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we might get a bit of partial redemption for the Diviner, because there's a lot of talk of Gwyn and everything, and obviously we had that episode where he abandoned Gwyn, and I wonder if will he finally put Gwyn above himself at the end, and who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think the Vindicator could be the baddie in season 2.
Could well be. You mean season 3?
No, season 2, because we're only at the end of part 2 of season 1.
I know.
Let's do it official. With our view on it. But
I don't think you mentioned what was our view getting us.
Yeah, we had thoughts on it. So let's move on then to the Christmas episode. So how are we gonna?
Well, I haven't really got a story.
Right,
I've got a picture of where we can start.
Let's do Elliot's first then.
So mine starts exactly where we just left off.
Ooh.
With Janeway in a cell.
Okay.
And we hear a familiar voice. Katie. The length she'll go to sometimes to hide from me. And of course it's our old friend Q.
Ooh.
And he goes, do you remember the last time you tried hiding from me? And we have a click of his fingers. And she's on the bridge of Voyager, looking out the view screen, and she's hidden in a Christmas tree.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
And he goes, did you ever wonder where you were actually hiding? And we have another click. And she stood in a lovely room. And she sees a familiar captain sat surrounded by children.
I'm just laughing because have you been looking at some of my notes? There's a few weird parallels with us, is all I'm saying. It's different, but it's parallels, yeah.
And he points, and she sort of, what's this? And he goes, oh, don't you think Voyager looks like a lovely ornament? And he clicks his fingers again, and we start seeing other familiar starships appearing in the Christmas tree. And we have a nice adventure with different captains. But we have this strange thing. Is like one of them is Captain Pike, but it's pre-Discovery Captain Pike on his first 5-year mission. Because at some point he made an omnipotent being. And Pike can't understand why occasionally Q's walking behind him singing, drip, 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 little April showers. And everyone else thinks it's so untasteful. And Pike just thinks, why are you singing this at Christmas time? But everyone else knows he's singing it, taking the piss out of how he melts later.
Oh, April showers is his face. Jesus, I didn't even put that together.
I wondered where you were going with that.
Is that Captain April riff? It's like that's
great. I was thinking,
Jeez. And that's as far as I've got.
And is that the musical number you mentioned to us in chat earlier when we were talking about this?
But in the meantime, it's just Q being his normal dicky self, keeps singing this song, and everyone's shocked at him because everyone else knows what's happened to Pike. And Pike just thinks he's being weird singing an April Showers song at Christmas.
Well, that's a pitch.
that went dark very quickly.
It did.
I'm not sure that.
Like, Merry Christmas.
I'm not sure that's the note we want to leave the viewers on at Christmas. But you never know. EastEnders always does depressing on Christmas Day, so
the very end of the episode is just up close on melted Pike's face, and just the message comes up on the screen: "Merry Christmas, everybody."
Yeah, and then there's another clip.
But I think I've got a nice way of starting it, though. How we get all the captains.
Yeah,
together.
that's really good. And yeah, it turns out Pike's face is the candle that's on the centerpiece at the Christmas table.
And also, Pike's face was deep in Christmas even by the end.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Oh, we're being horrible about Pike's face.
Hey, look, we didn't want it to happen. It just does. Look,
I'm just going to have to rewrite mine. Mine's got a Captain Pike joke in it, but I feel like he's had enough stick now.
Okay, yeah, let's hear yours, mate.
Let's hear, mate. Okay, so this is it's an episode of the new Starfleet Academy series starring Tilly and Admiral Silver Daddy Bear. And it's called A Very Tilly Christmas.
Okay, you win.
And so basically, Tilly's out with the students on a field trip, as you do, and she's talking to them. So it's around Christmas time, and she's talking to them about Christmas customs back on Earth. You see, so what we're doing here is we're layering little bits into the story that are setting up the themes of it. Nice. So we've got the students saying, "Oh, so what do they do on Earth at Christmas?" She goes, "Well, I'll tell you." So we're setting up that this is going to be a Christmas episode, but then we start to drop in like our little through line for the episode, which is we've had all these hints about how Tilly misses her mum, now she's in the future and everything like that. And she starts to talk about Christmas at home with her mum and with the family and everything like that. So we drop that in.
Jim, just a question, sorry, because that it's not on Earth, and I know Starfleet moved operations from Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it set? Where are they?
Well, they're out just somewhere exploring a planet.
They've been fuel cat.
They've been on the what?
You don't know about the Icelandic fuel cat?
No, I know about that weird Welsh horse.
No, the Icelandic fuel cat's a great folklore.
Right. Well,
let's save the Icelandic cat for after Jim's pitch. Let's keep the questions specific to the pitch.
Yeah. She doesn't mention the Icelandic Yule cat. She just mentions normal.
You can do that
Christmas
one before
traditions.
my pitch, Elliot. We'll hear about that.
Anyway, the reason I'm non-specific about the location is because the ship gets sucked into a wormhole, as happens so regularly in Star Trek, and they end up on this planet that it looks a bit run down, it looks a bit bedraggled, it doesn't look like a nice place to be. And it's populated largely by little people. So we've got Warwick Davis and we've got Peter Dinklage guest starring in this episode. And Warwick's probably saying something like, "Oh, it's so nice to see you, Tilly. I'm a really good actor." And then
I quite like his acting.
I think his acting's great. That's why I'm casting him in this episode. And these little people are all, they seem to spend most of the time sort of making toys and carving things out of wood and things like that. And they go and take Tilly and the students to meet the leader, who is an older man who has a bit of a beard, and he seems to be like the leader of this settlement. In a clever twist, though, he's played by Admiral Silver Daddy Bear.
Nice.
So we still get Silver Daddy Bear in the episode, but he's playing a different character. Maybe he's got a bit of makeup and things like that.
Just going to write a check to put this into production.
And as Tilly's talking to him, it becomes clear that this guy's not very happy. It's almost like his purpose in life is not being fulfilled by his current situation.
Would a red suit help?
Well, no, he's not in a red suit.
No, would a red suit help make
well, I don't know. It might do. Don't be trying to guess the twists, which have not been signposted too well so far. And as she's talking to him, he keeps making references to like different planets. It's like he's been everywhere in the galaxy and different time zones and things like that. And she starts to get curious about, like, you know, why are these people here? Has this planet come to be? And eventually she finds like a broken down ship, and it uses a unique form of technology that they've not seen. And this guy explains that it's powered by dilithium, but it actually could take him anywhere in the galaxy. And it harnessed the power of the wormholes, and it could go to any place and any time really, really quickly. But because of the burn, it stopped working and everything. And the little people are then talking to the kids, and you get these scenes, and the kids are talking about, oh yeah, well, Tilly used to work on this ship, and they had this spore drive that could jump all over the galaxy. And Warwick and Peter Dinklage get really excited about this. And they decide to go and talk to the leader guy about it. And he's really excited as well. And there's this idea of having some sort of technology that would allow him to travel all over somewhere in one night seems to really, really appeal to this guy. And he says, oh, that'd be a lifesaver for me. And meanwhile, the Warwick and Peter Dinklage have taught Tilly how to carve, and she's carved a little carving of a mum and a Christmas scene. And eventually the guy says, right, well, I'll show you which wormhole takes you back to your bit of the galaxy. And they patch up the shuttle and they go back and everything. And then it cuts to the bearded guy and the little people, and they're still really down and dreary. But then Tilly comes back, and she's brought them a prototype of the new spore drive. And they go, oh, that's wonderful. And here's the twist. They sort of press a button, and it turns out this whole thing's been a massive cloaking field on the planet. And it turns out it's only Santa and his elves, these guys. And the reason they've been so depressed is because when humanity spread out into the galaxy, they had to deliver all the presents all over the galaxy, not just all over Earth. And they couldn't do it at first until they found this technology. And then once the burn happened, they weren't able to deliver all the presents on Christmas Eve, and they've been really depressed. But now that they've got this spore drive, yes, Dr. Squeed, you have a question.
A very important question. When they reveal, like they drop the cloak from around him,
yeah,
is Santa still played by Admiral Silver Daddy Bear? And maybe he gives a little wink to the camera when Tilly goes like, actually, you still look exactly like the Admiral.
Yeah. He's still played. He's still played by Admiral Silver Daddy Bear. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry. We've got Admiral Silver Daddy Bear on the payroll, and he's got a grey beard. He's playing Santa. I'm sorry.
Good enough for me.
And it turns out that
if I could get a role.
And it turns out that the ship that he showed them earlier actually looks really like a sleigh now that the cloaking field's been released. And he says, oh, for the first time
look like reindeers.
There's reindeers and everything, but you see the magic wasn't good enough to get them around the whole galaxy.
And is the head elf in charge of the operations under Santa perhaps played by a guy who might have a power alarm clock? You can...
No, he's played by Peter Dinklage, I've told you.
All right. We're being the budgie alarm clock guy. He can be the guy who keeps inventory.
Okay, he can keep it, but see, the thing is, we're being very pro little people casting in this because of all the Lord of the Rings technology and everything. They don't get the roles, and I appreciate completely if, like Peter Dinklage, they don't want to play roles as elves and dwarves and things. But
I'd like to see Peter Dinklage cast as somebody who's 6 foot tall. Then let's not go on that. No, if we're going to do equality, where they're going to cast,
he played the giant
as dwarves.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Pardon me. Yeah. Sorry. No. You're right. You're totally right. We shouldn't do anti-little people casting. They should get the role.
No, exactly.
Yeah, that's fine. Which is why it's perfect to have Mr. Budgie Alarm Clock guy. He could be like the guy who keeps inventory because that guy loves a procedural job. He gets up.
Okay, we can put him in. He can be the guy who
and it means little people aren't on menial jobs, but he loves.
He can be the one who checks the list of who's been naughty and who's been nice and everything. Dinklage was a giant in Thor Facebook user. Thank you. I was about to point that out. He was called a dwarf, but he was very, very tall. Very tall. Anyway, so Santa says to Tilly, yes, it was Avengers Endgame. We knew that, yeah. We weren't going to correct you live on air. So Santa says to Tilly, do you want to come along, when I deliver all these presents? And this obviously is a decision for the wardrobe department, and I have no say in this whatsoever. But if they want to put Tilly in like a sexy Mrs. Claus outfit or something for the rest of this episode, that is completely up to the wardrobe department, not me.
Yeah.
And then, because this Santa can travel through time and space and everything, we get a montage of him delivering presents to all the captains. So there's a bit where Kirk's back on Earth after Star Trek 4 and he's lost his glasses, and Santa brings him a new glasses to replace the ones he had to sell in Star Trek 4.
That's nice.
And then he hops it again, the ungrateful bastard. No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
Well, maybe. Yeah, it's a perpetual loop. And Picard actually gets delivered that mysterious crystal. So it's pre-season 1 Picard, but Picard's mysterious crystal that he always plays with in episodes, and it's one of them things. It's like the reverse Mandela effect. Like, you don't remember it until someone points it out. But Picard actually picks up and plays with a crystal in numerous episodes of TNG.
Lots and lots of episodes.
I've never seen it.
Oh, I will send you a video link to it.
Once you have it pointed out and you're watching for it,
yeah,
see it's loads.
Yeah.
But it's one of those that you go, how did I not notice that? Because he literally does it all the time. Anyway, so that's where he got his mysterious crystal from.
Picard likes playing with his crystal.
He does.
And no one notices.
Cisco gets a catcher's mitt, probably like signed by Buck Buckeye or someone, one of his favourites. And Janeway gets a brand new coffee maker, like, one of them proper,
like
Smeg ones or something. Yeah. So Janeway gets one of them and she's really happy. Archer gets like a dog toy for Porthos. And finally,
a present for Porthos, not a present for him.
It will give Archer all the pleasure. I know for
Archer all the pleasure, won't it?
Yeah.
And then finally we see Captain Pike, and he wakes up and his hair's all over the place. And he opens the present and he's got some Brill cream from Santa. And he's like, and he does his hair.
Quick.
That's
the one
it.
thing he couldn't get the replicator to do right.
And then they're just about to head back. And Tilly says, so are we done now? And Santa says, no, I have one more present to deliver. And he takes Tilly to be a mum's present for Christmas. And she gets to spend Christmas with her mum and her family one more time.
Oh, I like that. Heartfelt.
And that's how it ends. And then somebody says to Captain Pike, horrible face. So
his face melts as the credits go down.
That is the episode of Very Tilly Christmas.
Okay, that is beautiful, and I love it, and I'm commissioning it now. I have no power to do so, but I'm in. Are we ready for a Christmas Carol? I'm going to call it. So,
what Carol? Where?
A Christmas Carol. A Q.
Oh, you're stealing my Q idea already.
The notes were already on here, I swear.
I saw you typing frantically.
Yeah, that's it. A Christmas Carol.
Crawl at the start of the TV movie, which it is, sets the scene that we're we're a year into the Dominion War and how badly it's going. So, a la kind of the beginning of Voyager and DS9 that Crawley gets up.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, wait. Sorry to.
Yeah.
Why do you get a TV movie?
Well, because you should have pitched for a TV movie.
You said an episode.
Yeah, it's a TV movie episode. It's feature length. I didn't say.
All right. Well, mine was retroactively. Mine was a cinematic release.
Mine can be as long as people want it to be.
Actually, this would probably work in cinemas too. But either way,
no.
It's only good enough for TV. That's
TV movie.
It's a TV movie, but goes on one of the cool streamers.
Okay.
Or Paramount Plus. Picard is on the bridge in the Dominion War. There's a huge battle. The Enterprise barely survives and has to be tracked back to Starfleet with an honor guard of ships. Later, Picard is in his quarters listening to some harsh classical music up loud a la First Contact. Troy comes in and Picard pauses playback. Troy, some of us are meeting in 10 forward tomorrow after we've caught up on some much-needed sleep. We'll be in space dock for a week. Perfect chance to catch a moment to pause. Picard, I haven't got time, Counselor. I need to talk strategy with Starfleet if we're ever going to win this war. Troy, you need rest, Captain. It means nothing if we win the war, but lose ourselves.
Ooh,
Troy then
I like
notices
that.
an easel in the corner of the room with a painting of Picard in his Nexus family around a Christmas tree. Troy, I noticed this painting the other day, and in fact, I think it's been there quite some time. A year, maybe? Yes. I started it before the war. It's really important to hang on to hope. Maybe finishing this painting will help. Christmas has been known to be a great source of hope to humans. Picard, we're at war, Counselor. Not the time for the captain of the flagship of the Federation to hide behind an easel. You'll need to take every moment you have for hope. The rest of the crew looks after you. It looks after you. Sorry, you look after the rest of the crew. Who looks after you? Thank you for your counsel. I'll consider it. Troy takes the hint and leaves. Later that night, Picard is in bed with a book. As he drifts off, we see the book falling to his side, revealing the title, A Christmas Carol. We hear an all too familiar shimmering sound that lets us know Q is here. Suddenly, Picard's quarters are changed into a Christmas scene with a tree, presents underneath, and tinsel everywhere. Q and Picard spar over the idea of hope and why it's needed or is pointless. Picard, but why should you care if I have lost some hope for the future? It's a great Troy voice, thank you. Why should Picard? But why should you care if I've lost hope for the future and for the universe? Q pauses before bashing away the thought with a gesture of his hands. Even gods need to do maintenance. You should see the universe if the Dominion win. They would have no sense of humor for my godlike games. That Weung is bad enough, but the founders? Q warns Picard he will leave now, but don't plan on a good night's sleep, and disappears with a click of his fingers. Going back to bed, Picard settles down again to sleep, questioning if this had been real or if a dream brought about by stress and an ill-advised bedtime reading. Then suddenly, with another shimmering sound, movie Kirk appears.
Oh, wait. There's a question. Yeah, that was my question. Are we talking motion picture Kirk or classic red Kirk?
Classic red. The dialogue was going to be
or after Voyage Home.
Well, if you listen to the next couple paragraphs, it makes it very clear.
Okay.
It's red uniform, though. I will give you that much. Jean-Luc. Picard sitting up, waking and sitting upright. Jim, how are you here? I haven't seen you since the Nexus. Ah, that's not happened for me yet. I'm here to show you the true meaning of the Federation. Let me take you back to my Enterprise. Kirk does the Q click, and we find ourselves in the dining room scene on board the Enterprise A from Star Trek 6. So that's where.
Very good.
We play out the scene with Kirk talking of his mistrust and anger at the Klingons. I had lost hope in the Federation, and it led to cut to the courtroom scene as Kirk's personal log is played back. I'd become so mistrustful, so bitter. I didn't think the Federation moral code applied to me. In doing so, I lost more than my son. I lost myself.
Ooh.
Kirk regales Picard with the story of how his friends saved him, and these actions led to 100 years of peace between the Klingons and Federation. Picard then scoffs. But then, all the more reason to hate this war that has driven the Federation and the Klingon Empire apart. We've lost even our closest allies. That which is lost may be found. Cut back to Picard's quarters. Kirk leaves and an hour later, the next ghost appears in a click. It's Cisco.
Mm-hmm.
Picard. You, of all people, how can you, after the Borg made me do, well, what I did to you, still want me to be hopeful for the Federation? I have something to show you of the Federation in the present. That
sorry, can
I that high pitched?
It will be it's early Cisco's voice I'm doing, which doesn't even apply.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to give too many coaching tips, but I think if you're playing Cisco, you need to slalom.
Yeah, you got slaloming.
It's more like jazz.
I have something to show you of the Federation in the
There we
present,
are.
and I can get us there faster than the Defiant herself. In the click of his fingers, we're on Voyager. Cisco and Picard land on the ship mid-battle in the Scorpion episodes. Picard takes Picard through how this episode nearly drove Janeway and ReTrek favorite Chakotay apart. But in the end, it was them coming back together that would bring the Voyager home. Picard is more convinced, but speaks of how much larger the current conflict is to anything the Federation has faced, save the Borg. I didn't want to do the Borg again. I felt that had been done to death with Picard. He lands, very well, but we've done it. He lands back in his quarters. Seven appears as the ghost of Federation future.
No.
She shows Picard their adventure time traveling to save the Federation from a dark fate at the hands of the Borg. So I've kind of slipped in the Borg, but not redone it. Of how his actions saved the Earth from the Borg once more, and how he saved himself in the process. She then shows him a future where the Federation did not endure. The Dominion and the Borg fight, reducing the worlds around them to dust. Picard, no. No! And he even throws a phaser at his little ships. He wakes on the Enterprise E. Q? Q appearing in a nightgown and hat with candle lantern a la Scrooge. Not so loud, mon capitaine. Some of the ships are trying to sleep. So it did happen. All of it in one night? So you think you have enough hope in the Federation to see out the war? Thank you, Q, for reminding me of the true meaning of the Federation. My pleasure, Jean-Luc. But if anyone asks, I was never here. Still breaking the rules of even your own people, I see. Q, ignoring this playful slight. Any last requests before I leave you to slumber? Picard, pulling up the bed sheets and laying down. Q, make it snow.
Ah, good one.
Snow falls on Picard's quarters as he drifts off to sleep. The next morning, Picard awakes and rushes out of his quarters. Cut away to him being in uniform. We next see Picard outside Troy's quarters, buzzing the entry chime. Troy comes to the door. Captain, is everything all right? I can't explain it. I feel something's happened to me, but I can't seem to remember. But I wanted you to have this. Picard brings forth a wrapped painting that Troy opens to reveal the Nexus scene, now complete. Captain, it's beautiful, but why give it to me? I had it all wrong. It's not about surviving this war at all costs. It's not about losing. It's about not losing who we are to the dark. You reminded me of that. So I wanted you to have this in case you ever needed reminding. Later that day, Picard comes to 10 forward, seeing the bridge crew at the table. Eggnogs all round, please, Guinan. Guinan gives a puzzled look at this request, but makes the drinks. And we see Picard walking over to the crew to the table and sitting down with a smiling crew. The end.
Hey.
Yeah.
If I were to change one thing,
yeah,
I thought this is where you were going. The Ghost of Christmas Future could have been the guy with the parrot, because who more embodies the spirit of the Federation than that guy?
In the original one, that was the idea, but I thought that was too hopeful. I wanted him to see what happens if he doesn't.
Of course, it's got to be a bad future.
Because originally it was going to be him and Admiral Silver Daddy Bear going, look, the future's awesome, but he needed to.
Yeah, you're right. It needs to be a bad take on it. Yeah. So no,
and in the post-credit scene,
right.
Q appears, takes him to the future, the actual future, and he sees Admiral Silver Daddy Bear and the clock guy, and everyone has a piss up with Tilly.
There we go. Yeah, and all the episodes come together, all of our different stories.
I completely agree with your criticism there, Jody. His Cisco voice was rubbish because he doesn't know how to slalom.
I love it all, and you're completely right. He is so hard to do because
it's like
Kirk
free jazz.
Kirk can go over the top. Troy, I think you go minimalist. I think she's overplayed sometimes in impressions. Picard's obviously easy because we just do a British posh voice and we sound like we're close enough. Cisco's
I think you could have slipped in some dialogue there. Like you could have had Picard saying, "Is this real, Q?" And Cisco could have said, "It's real! It's real!"
You'll have to do Cisco next time. I'm not going
to. I invented it.
And I'm not going to lie. There's a little part of me dialing back on Cisco, so I didn't go too racial. Like I'm not touching that whole bag of worms. I just
that's fair. That's a fair comment.
Fair
like
enough,
the American voice, wicked. Like I mean, he's got a really kind of like big, and I think it is an African American. Certainly, there's influence in the voice of that as well as
I think Avery Brooks might secretly be the world's second nouveau shamanic actor after Nicolas Cage.
It's quite possible. I mean, he is one of those things of like, is he genius or is he insane? And he does moments of both, I think, like Cage.
I think he's both.
He's a great actor, but he's sometimes, when he swings for the fences that hard, sometimes you're going to miss. Sometimes you are. But when you hit, boy, do you hit it hard. And that's
true.
Cisco.
And that's a bit like baseball, which Cisco would appreciate.
But yeah, I honestly thought you can make this like a Christmas Carol with all the.
You could do, and I'm surprised Star Trek has never done a Christmas episode like they did that Halloween one once in the original series, Catspaw, but that's the only sort of seasonal
one.
Honestly, I think
Thanksgiving in Star Trek 6. Which doesn't resonate with most of the world.
I didn't think that's Thanksgiving. Okay, I get it, yeah. I mean, I think the one which we're going to see...
You actually get the original series as well, don't you? You have Kirk goes on the speaker and asks the chef to make sure that he gets...
He does, but they've never done... I mean, it's more of a British thing than an American thing anyway, isn't it? The idea of the Christmas special. Yeah. Like they do have in like American sitcoms and stuff, they'll have episodes set at Christmas, but it'll just be part of the regular run. Whereas in British TV, the regular run finishes during the year and then you get a double or triple length Christmas special.
I think that's a legacy though of the way they were made. So ours was always like traditionally 6 episodes long. Yeah. And so the chances of it actually spanning over Christmas were kind of slight. So they usually did the Christmas special separately. They had kind of like, was it 26 episodes?
Yeah, you have half a year that you're filming. So
chances are you go over Christmas.
Unless you've got a show that always shows maybe March to September. So it never on at Christmas. Then you might decide, no,
it was American seasons were always September to May traditionally.
Yeah, and what they did is they had kind of special summer shows, which were like, look, we're going to give a punt on this. We'll give you 6 to 10 episodes. That used to be a rare thing. And it was a show they wanted to give a chance to, but they weren't super confident in. And some wonderful shows came out of that. And now they shows 10 episodes, which is much better.
So let us know.
Before we finish,
to
learn the folklore of the Icelandic Yule cat.
Yes, please, Elliot.
Yes,
Tell us the folklore of the Icelandic Yule cat.
The Icelandic Yule cat looks like a house cat.
Right.
And sometimes it's depicted with horns, sometimes without. And it's either the size of a man or it's the size of a house. It varies in the size, depending on how the folklore's told. But it always is around wearing your Christmas clothes. And if you don't wear your Christmas clothes, the Yule cat comes and mauls you, rips you apart and eats you. So you've got to wear your Christmas clothes.
Right. I do like all these weird ones. Like
it's a really strange one.
I think, Santa and stuff like that's all very nice, but when you start to scratch under the surface, there's a lot of murder and stuff goes on at Christmas with some of these demons.
Like you can imagine, can't you, going to kids who've got the clothes for Christmas? Oh, I don't like that. I didn't want clothes for Christmas. You will wear them. Oh, the Yule cat's coming to get you.
I am going to look up the Icelandic Yule cat as soon as we finish.
It's a real thing.
Willow's pretty sure she can take it. I've just told her the bit about the size of the house.
I think didn't Brian Blessed punch one of them once or something? I'm sure I heard him tell a story.
Can I just?
I probably could.
Can I just add one more then of the weird one? You've probably heard of the Krampus because it's been in movies in recent years. However, do you know about the Krampus's assistant?
What, Suave Pete?
Suave Pete is not the name which they gave to it, as I think you probably know.
Well, that's the one I've heard, but
okay. Well, basically, and in some parts of Europe, they still call it this. The assistant to the evil Krampus, which steals all the kids' presents if they're naughty, he had a personal assistant called Black Pete, which was a black gentleman who then they changed the name to Slave Pete because they thought that might be a bit more racially sensitive, and probably Suave Pete is what they're using now because they're like someone goes, no, that isn't any better to call him Slave Pete.
And,
it's like
that's slavery. Worse.
Yeah,
and traditionally he was played by a white guy in blackface at the Christmas things. Yeah.
When we say black, I saw a talk about the Trek Klingons the other day.
No.
And no, he was actually right, and he's sort of like showing pictures of the original series actors, sort of as the Klingons, and then showing the real faces, he's pointing at it and going, "No, I don't think that's right. What you've done there." No, that's not right.
No, there was the problematic, as we tend to say these days.
Do now.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up there anyway. Christmas, wrap it up, eh?
Christmas episode as well. Come on, this is almost movie length.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, for people watching who haven't seen.
Oh, there we go.
Have you seen my Santa? How big he is.
How beautiful is that? I'm here as a dragon. Come on, James. Where's your...
And then, have you seen what my window does?
Yeah.
Nice.
And just to point out, we got Elliot that Santa from like bring and buy sale, and my mum said to me, "Are you sure he'll use it?" And that was about over 10 years ago now. So I think the investment paid off.
Oh god, yeah.
So come and let us know on Facebook why Squeeze Christmas Story is the best Christmas story ever told. But also
got the best start though.
I love them all. I genuinely loved all of those guys. Thank you.
And if you have any of your own Star Trek Christmas ideas, let us know. You can also get us on Twitter if it still exists at ReTrekPod. You can email us retrekpod@gmail.com. Dr. Squeeze, the Dr. Squeeze Christmas show, or are you having the week off?
Yeah, we're halfway through. So basically this week we had part one of the Dr. Squeeze Show Unclassical Christmas special. So the ladies from Unclassical, they take a piece of classical literature, read out and point out all the wild weirdness which is in old literature and all the sexism and like just stuff which really isn't cool. And we have a good laugh about how silly it is and how better we are hopefully doing now. So we did that for Christmas. They've picked out a Christmas story, which we're halfway through. You don't need to listen to the first part, but join us on Tuesday for that.
Excellent. And ReTrek will be taking a break over Christmas week, but it's actually worked out quite nicely because the Prodigy finale is showing over the next 2 weeks, but we're going to cover the two-parter in one episode when we come back the week after next. So
there will be a couple of videos put out on ReTrek Model Studios.
Yeah.
I've got my Hobby League International group build to finish before New Year, so there will be at least one more video out on that.
So we just want to say to everyone listening, just thank you very much for listening. Is our next one in the new year?
Next one will be in the new year. Yeah. Let me check. I'll have to get my calendar.
Thanks for listening this year. Live long and festive. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, everyone at home. Thank you, guys. As you know, I've had a pretty shit year. And ReTrek has just been something to look forward to. And it's doing things like this have made all the difference and kept my mental health at least slightly going. I mean, I'm just here. Sad dressed as a bloody dragon, so obviously not a complete success, but
yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody, and we'll see you next time on the ReTrek.
Yeah, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you. well, yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.